212. That's how many Spanish soldiers surround this city on the last day. The other 79,000 are Mexican, your neighbors. The people who paid your taxes. The nations you kept just close enough to bleed and just far enough to hate. Hernán Cortés didn't build that army. You did. It took 50 years. And you never noticed. Level 1. The system. You are 24 years old. Tenochtitlán, November 1519. Your mother's scale is still on your table. She died 2 years ago and you kept it because it's the most accurate one in this section of the market. And because you can't think of a good reason to let it go. You sell fabric. Have since you were 12. Indigo. The red that bleeds out of a dried insect smaller than your thumbnail. The yellow of achiote ground flat and dried on stone in the sun until it holds its color like a bruise. Your stall is in the market of Tlaxcala. 60,000 people trade here every 5th day. Here is what keeps it running. Every valley within a week's walk sends goods here. Not because they want to. Because your warriors go and collect. The market doesn't run on trade. It runs on tribute. This city runs on one thing, and that one thing requires. Every year, that the people paying it believe they have no better option. Somewhere 2 days east of here, a nation called Tlaxcala is starting to think they might. You don't know that yet. You are setting out your bolts. You are checking your mother's scale. The drum at the top of the great temple strikes the hour and the whole market holds its breath for 3 beats and then starts up again. Everything is exactly as it has always been. Pay attention to how that feels. Because someone is about to offer your creditors a better deal. Level 2. What Tlaxcala remembers. You are still 24. 2 days east. Before the Spanish arrive. The flower wars have run for 50 years. That is what your city calls them. Ritual battles. Carefully managed conflict. Warriors taken on both sides for sacrifice. And then everyone goes home, and in a few years you do it again. Your rulers built this arrangement deliberately. Tlaxcala is too strong to destroy and too dangerous to leave alone. So you fight them just enough to keep them weak and just little enough to keep them alive. Here is what it feels like from inside. It feels like being hurt on a schedule by someone strong enough to do worse but choosing not to. Tlaxcala has 150,000 warriors and they have been living inside that feeling for 50 years. They have been keeping count. Every tribute payment your city extracted from the surrounding valleys. Every warrior taken in the flower wars. Every harvest interrupted. Every year the arrangement stayed exactly the same, because your city needed it to. 50 years of count keeping. A very long tab. Soon a Spanish officer named Hernán Cortés will sit down with the Tlaxcalan War Council and make one offer. Help us, and the tab disappears. All of it. The tribute stops the day Tenochtitlán falls. The council will take 3 days to vote. They think they know what they are buying. They don't. But that's a generation-long story and we will get there. First, Cortés has to get through your gate. Level 3. The site survey. You are still 24. November 8, 1519. Cortés walks through your gate with 500 soldiers. 500 men in a city of 270,000 is a rounding error. It looks like a scouting party that got lost. Moctezuma gives them the palace of Axayacatl. 400 rooms. Food. Firewood. The full run of the city. He is calculating. He thinks the Spanish can be aimed at the eastern nations still resisting tribute. Pointed like a tool and put down when the work is done. There is a woman in the Spanish party named Malintzin. She speaks both their language and yours. Every word said between Moctezuma and Cortés goes through her. She is not a neutral surface. She has her own count, her own reasons, and she has already decided which side of this she is on. Cortés walks through your market 2 days after arriving. He doesn't look at food. Doesn't look at cloth. He stops at the goldwork every time. His lips move slightly when he looks. The way yours move when you're pricing a bolt in your head before the seller quotes you. A man who already knows the price before you name it didn't come to shop. He came to confirm what he already knows is here. Level 4. The vote. You are still 24. May 20th, 1520. You are not there. A dye merchant arrives from the direction of the Great Plaza at a full run. Sandals lost somewhere on the road. Face the color of ash. And he looks at the canal while he talks because he cannot look at you. The Festival of Tlaxcala. 600 of your city's finest warriors in the plaza in full ceremonial dress. Jade and quetzal feather and obsidian mosaic. The drums. The singing your mother used to hum while she worked. The procession has run in that plaza for 190 years without a single interruption. The Spanish close the gates. 600 warriors. 11 minutes. Your city picks up weapons. Your warriors blockade the palace. The food deliveries stop. The Spanish are trapped. By any reasonable reading, you have them. That night in Tlaxcala, 2 days east, a runner arrives with the news from the plaza. There has been a faction in the war council arguing for patience. Wait and assess. The risk is too high. They have been making that argument every day for 2 months. The council sits down with the news from the plaza. 600 warriors in ceremonial dress. 11 minutes. Not a battle. A signal. The patience faction goes quiet. The vote is unanimous before midnight. You think you are fighting 500 trapped soldiers. You just handed their alliance the last argument it needed. In 11 months, 80,000 men will be standing on your causeway. They are already on their way. Level 5. The bill. You are still 24. June 30th, 1520. Last night the Spanish tried to escape across the western causeway. Your warriors pull the bridge sections. They fall into the lake. Men, horses, gold. The gold goes down fastest. 450 of them are dead by dawn. A warrior pulls a Spanish sword from the shallows at first light. Holds it up, and the causeway answers. Mexico, Mexico. You feel it in the stone under your feet. Then look at the far shore. Cortés is alive. Standing on the bank with his horse. Looking back at your city. Not running. Not weeping. The stillness of a man who has made a costly mistake and is tracing exactly where the arithmetic went wrong. He goes to Tlaxcala. He spends the next 11 months building 13 flat-bottomed boats in the mountains, 100 kilometers from the lake, and carrying them down in pieces. He is building a navy for a lake he has never sailed. While he builds, your city is still celebrating last night as a victory. Melintzin is in his camp, translating everything that comes in from your scouts, and everything that leaves toward your city. The tab your empire has been running for 50 years is due in 11 months. The correct name for last night is not victory. It's the last payment you ever make on credit. Level 6. Cocoliztli. You are still 24. Autumn 1520. It arrives in the men the Spanish leave on the eastern shore. Nobody has a name for it. Nobody in 10,000 years of medicine on this lake has needed one. Fever first. Then the skin rises in hard white bumps. Then the bumps fill and break open. Your neighbor on the left is dead on day 7. His wife on day 9. 3 children from your street in the same week. The doctors, the Tisital, move through the district with empty hands. 40 generations of knowledge. Nothing touches this. No plant, no preparation, no ritual. Here is the number that matters. Before the siege starts in May 1521, 40% of the people inside these walls are dead or too sick to hold a weapon. Not from swords. From something that crossed an ocean inside the lungs of men who had no idea they were carrying it. Your wife survives. You survive. You don't know why. Some people are immune and the mechanism won't be understood for 4 more centuries, and that not knowing sits on your chest every morning you wake up and she's still there. Cortés has 11 months to rebuild. You have 11 months to carry your dead to the lake because the ground has run out of room. When the boats appear on the water in May, the siege will already be over. You just won't know it yet. Level 7. The number. You are still 24. May 26, 1521. Here is what is outside your city this morning. 80,000 warriors on the causeways and the lake. 13 boats with cannons mounted at the front. And 212 Spanish soldiers. That's it. 212. Write it down. That is the entire Spanish military presence at the fall of the greatest city in the Americas. The rest, 79,788 men, are the people your empire spent 50 years turning into enemies. Men whose grandfathers paid tribute to your market. Whose fathers fought the flower wars. Who kept their own count and waited 50 years for someone to come along and make a better offer. You carry stones to the rooftop. Pile them up in case the fighting reaches the streets. You carry until your hands split at the knuckles, and then you carry more, because it is the only thing left that makes sense to do. 212 soldiers cannot take a city of 270,000. That math has never worked. In any century, anywhere. Cortés didn't conquer the city. He found the people you had been building into an army for 50 years and he put himself at the front of the line. He knocked on a door your empire had been constructing. Tribute collection by tribute collection. Flower war by flower war. For half a century. The door opened immediately. Of course it did. You built it well. Level 8. The invoice. You are still 24. August 13, 1521. The fighting stops before sunrise. Not a surrender. A city simply ceasing. The canals are filled with rubble from houses torn down to block the canoe lanes. The great temple. The Huey Teocalli your father carried you to as a child so you could hear the dawn drums from the high steps, is a pile of carved stone in ash and shallow water. The market gone. The palace gone. 40,000 bodies in what used to be streets. In Cuadal, in Hupali, Omochia. The skirt, the blouse, it's done. The word for something that cannot be undone. Your wife is beside you. Your children are alive. Your mother's scale is somewhere in the rubble below. You don't go looking for it. There is no market left to use it in. Now here is what history leaves out. The Tlaxcalans who held your causeways, built those boats, and did the majority of the actual fighting, receive one generation without tribute. 1. Then the Spanish administration starts collecting. By 1560, Tlaxcala pays more to Spain than it ever paid to your city. The men who destroyed an empire to cancel their debt spend the next 400 years inside a smaller empire. A foreign god carved into every wall, and no record anywhere of who built the door they walked through. History gives this morning one name. Hernán Cortés. The 80,000 are gone from the record before the century is out. What the Tlaxcalans got was a new invoice with a different name at the top and the same number at the bottom. The lake is still there beneath you. Cold. Holding everything it was given. They changed the name on the invoice. The lake didn't notice. You lived this once. And now, you are history.